Welcome, Chestnut Mountain family, to week 2 of our family devotionals. I hope you've enjoyed this. I surely have. I love hearing from other people on this team, getting to hear what God has been depositing into them through His Word. I know that right now is a difficult and uncertain time for all of us, and maybe your schedule has been completely rocked. My hope and our hope as a team is that these devotions would help kind of give you a springboard on your day. And not just that, but to encourage you to get in the Word yourself and to continue to walk with us as we journey through Scripture together daily. God is speaking to us, and He doesn't just speak to the pastors, He speaks to us all. And so I want to encourage you to dig into His Word and to listen to Him. There's a passage from Psalm 46 that I want to share with you today that's been absolutely rocking my world. I've been in it for almost a full week, and I just keep getting different things. God keeps bringing it back up, and I can't move on. Sometimes that happens. And I've shared some things out of this chapter for literally a week, but there's one verse in particular today that I haven't shared yet that I want to share. It just keeps coming up to the surface that I think is beautiful. So Psalm 46, the whole chapter is talking about God being our refuge and our strength, our help, very present help, first verse, in time of need, in time of trouble. God is there. The Lord of hosts is with us, it says twice in this chapter. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. We can take refuge in Him and know that we will be safe there. It's a beautiful passage of Scripture, beautiful promise. And so, but in the middle of that, in verse 4, I want to share this really quick. Verse 4, chapter 46 of Psalms, it says, "There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her, and she shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns." It says, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. There's several things in that. I'm not going to give you a 4-point sermon, but I do want to share a couple of things really quick. The river is flowing from the source. The river is carrying life along with it. Life, joy, blessing, hope. Everything we need for life is coming from that source, and it's traveling down to us. We don't sit at the source. We don't push the button to receive. We sit downriver and we wait for it to come. This dependency is what I don't want you to miss. This posture of dependency. God is stripping us down in this season, and He's saying, put it all to the side. Take a breath. I'm hitting the pause button. And He can do that because He was there in the beginning. He breathed life into everything that is living, and He's sustaining it by His power today, the Word says. But I think it's really interesting. God's like, pause. I'm hitting the pause. Chill is what God said. And we're like, okay, but hold up. Let me get some toilet paper. Nobody's here to laugh with me, but whatever. We gotta have it. We gotta have control. We got to know that the grocery store's not going to be out of toilet paper. Maybe it's funny. It's funny to me. The truth is, we want control so bad. We want to sit at the source, and we want to push the button and receive it. We want to be able to control when it comes. We want to be able to ask God for a blessing as if He's in a bottle like a genie, and He's going to just give it to us on command. But that's not the God that we serve. In fact, the God that we serve is so much more gracious and merciful than that. And He says that there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. There's a river supplying blessing from the source, and it's making God glad to send those blessings to us. It's making God glad for us to sit downriver, downstream, dependent on His blessing, and to wait for Him. Look throughout Scripture all over the place. It's talking about wait upon the Lord. That for those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, because God will be their strength, because He will be your source if you're dependent on Him. I love this too. So that's kind of the spiritual component. physically and literally in this time when this was written, the rivers that were running around the city of God, literally, which would have been Jerusalem. Just a really quick, I'm not going to go into it, but just a real quick history lesson. Around the city of God, all these other rivers are flowing. And in Jerusalem, the rivers there were a lot more calm. The streams that were coming into these and around Jerusalem and around the temple, they were calm streams. They were soothing. They were much different than the other rivers that were a lot more fierce, where trade was happening in the other cities around Jerusalem. Really interesting. Remember, God's hitting the pause button. The psalmist says that there's a river that makes glad the city of God. The river, the streams are flowing calmly. God's shutting down. Have you ever thought maybe God's shutting down the rivers for trade for a reason? All those other rivers that were flowing in these other cities around the city of God, literally in Jerusalem in these days. We see a picture of trade happening. We see a picture of commerce taking place and earthly wealth being accumulated, which is it's not a bad thing to make money. Don't hear me say that. But have you ever thought that maybe God is taking a step back and saying, you really don't need all that prosperity. You really don't need all those things that the world has to offer. You really don't need to place your city on the strongest river so that you can get your strategy right and receive the earthly blessings and all the prosperity that it has to offer. No, you need to place yourself beside the stream that is calmer but is bringing the blessing of life. Sometimes we ask for blessing from God and we want it to be material. We want it to be immediate. But the blessings that God promises and continues to offer are peace and joy and hope forevermore. And these blessings are coming from His river. They're flowing from the source. We got to position ourselves in dependence to receive it. It's a simple promise. It's a simple word. It's been wrecking me today. Number one, that God would be blessing us in the first place. We don't deserve that. I don't deserve that. He's blessing us. And number two, it makes Him glad. Because there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God. We know that literally right now in heaven, Jesus is at the right hand of the Father on the throne. He's interceding on our behalf. And He's coming to bring us back. He's already come and He's coming back again to bring us back to the Father so that we can experience the fullness of joy and the fullness of hope and the fullness of peace. This is not our home, people. Our home is in heaven with Him. And right now, because of the cross, there is a river spiritually that is flowing down to God's children. I want to encourage you today to get in a posture of dependence, to get under that river, and the streams will be made glad, and God will be in the midst of her, and she shall not be moved.